Welcome to River Talk for today. I don't know the date, but today we're going to talk about foreign policy.
14th of October.
14th of October, 2016. And today I'm joined by Zach Marburger and Ashlyn, last name.
Shores.
That's the one. Foreign policy. There's two major political candidates running right now, Donald Trump and Hillary Clinton, and they both have pretty differing views on foreign policy. So I think it'd be best if we started off by stating their opinions on how foreign policy should be carried out during their presidency. Zach, take it away.
So first you have Hillary Clinton, right? She wants to continue the policies of Obama, and Obama's current policies is just bomb ISIS wherever they might be it Libya, Iraq, Iran, well, maybe not Iran, I'm not sure, but we want to stabilize relations with them more, right? But, and then also trying to arm Syrian rebels in the Middle East, even though, there's been a lot of discussion about, we don't know these people, a lot of the weapons we send them go into the hands of terrorist organizations, stuff like that. And foresee a no-fly zone over Syria, but I just feel like that's just going to end up with Russia flying a helicopter over Syria and shooting us down, World War III, all this stuff like that. And then Donald Trump, what about his opinions?
Well, Donald Trump, a lot of his foreign policy is based on the fact that he did not support the Iraq War, although the media will dispute that. He seems to be rather non-interventionist, except in the area of ISIS, in which he is quoted as saying he would bomb the hell out of ISIS. Mm-hmm. So it would seem he would be tough on Islamic extremism, but rather non-interventionist in other world affairs.
And so when we go off that, we're really just going to start discussing what would probably be the best course of action for the United States when it comes to foreign policy as a whole, because right now we have a lot of tensions with European nations. They're supposed to be our closest allies, but we're also having destabilization with Russia and our relation with them, China, just stuff like that. So, China. But, so let's go ahead and start with Europe and the whole crisis they have going on with Russia, with them a couple years ago going into Ukraine and taking Crimea. So, what are your thoughts on that?
Well, frankly, I think it's kind of embarrassing that Ukraine is a pretty good American ally since the collapse of the Soviet Union, and I think it really just shows a lack of solidarity with our allies that we allowed Russia to get away with taking the Crimea and completely destabilizing the region of Donbass.
And for just kind of a short fill-in for what happened, I think it was the summer of 2013, 2014, that area. Russian soldiers with, they were wearing green uniforms and they marched into Crimea with unmarked uniforms and basically started claiming military bases, towns, stuff like that, and occupying them, and eventually resulted in kind of a dispute between the Ukrainian government and the Russian-backed rebels. Then, what about with Mexico and kind of the whole clash between immigration between our two countries? How are we going to try and better relations with them? Because Mexico technically doesn't really want to take back the refugees and immigrants that come over into the United States. Kind of thoughts on that?
Well, you see, the way I put it is that Mexico is pretty dependent on us for their economic growth. Mm-hmm. Like all of our companies moving their jobs and facilities to Mexico. Mm-hmm. And Mexico buys a lot of our goods. If you look at their military, they're almost exclusively armed by the United States. So I think if Mexico wants to be smart, let's say if Trump gets in office, we're going to build the wall, and we'll make Mexico pay for it, not through extortion, but through like tariffs, things of the sort. Mm-hmm. For their own gain, Mexico should probably cooperate with us on the wall. And I think if they were to realize that most of the illegal immigrants coming through Mexico actually are Mexicans, it's not a beef with their country, more just a beef with, the massive wave of people coming in illegally. I think maybe if we stress that more, we could probably find a way to work cooperatively with Mexico to ease tensions and stem the tide of illegal immigration.
And just a minor thought, Trump, I feel, is getting too much backlash with his relation with Vladimir Putin. I mean, they just said a couple of nice things about each other, and with the current situation with our current government's and our relations diminishing with Russia, I think it would be good to have a president who actually, they both think kindly of one another in a sense, and that makes them more prone to work together. So I just think the media is giving too much backlash on Donald Trump when it comes to his relation with Vladimir Putin.
And you know, I think because they're both tough, I would argue that our current president and Hillary Clinton are not very tough. I think that Donald Trump and Vladimir Putin, since they're both very, very tough, kind of nationalistic, I think they would be more able to work together on issues and such and solve them without firing a shot.
And what about the Middle East? Because that's always been, probably for the last couple of decades, that's really been our major fault in our foreign policy, was how we dealt with the Middle East. So, you know, it always comes down to overthrowing the government, replacing it with something, only to have terrorists seize the vacuum that is there, and just crippling whatever form of government tries to take hold there. So what would probably be some great strategies, if you will, for actually making some sort of peaceful situation in the Middle East?
Well, if it were up to me, I think that we don't need to be involved in every single little issue. I think we need to get involved in issues that directly affect our allies and us at home. So, I mean, if, let's just say, for example, Lebanon breaks out into a civil war, I don't think we should pay attention to it in case there would be like spillover into like Israel or Iraq, things of the sort. But we're not the world's policemen, and I don't believe that our military should be used as such. I think it's gotten us into a lot of trouble.
Yes, and speaking about being the world's policeman, it also comes to another factor of nation building and how we like to just give foreign countries, and countries that don't even like us, absurd amounts of money to build their infrastructure, help their economies, when in reality our country is suffering. Take example, Flint, Michigan, okay, and how their water treatment plants, their pipes, they're just not up to par with what would be considered a first world country. And just a lot of parts of our country are starting to look like third world countries, and we're here giving away millions, billions of dollars to these foreign nations to help build theirs. And some nations in the Middle East that we help, it just ends up being blown up a few weeks after we build it. It's just an absurd waste of money.
Right, and so I mentioned this to you earlier, but I do consider myself fairly pro-Israel, but we're giving them like nearly $500 billion in aid.
It makes them dependent on us.
Yeah, and I mean, if you were to look at their military, their infrastructure and such, for the most part, they're doing fine. They don't need all that money. They have a very effective military and a very stable government. They don't need all this money from us. We're spending this money in other places.
And to Israel's credit, I can't remember what the specific war was called. It was probably like the 3-day, 4-day war or something.
6-day war?
6-day war. Yeah, Egypt and was it Libya and Iraq?
Jordan, Syria.
All these Muslim nations basically were so sick of Israel, and they just went in to Israel to try to take it over, and the Israelis beat them back, sent them home packing. Even for instance in Egypt, they actually went over into their borders and actually blew up a couple of their air bases and stuff like that. So it just shows Israel's capable of defending itself. It's just a matter of if we're going to let them actually, be independent in the aspect of their economy and their military. How about relations with China? That's always been a zinger. That's always been a zinger because it always seems with each president it kind of varies.
Right. You see, I think with China you got to walk a fine line. Where I think the best way to maintain a relationship with China is to improve our trade deals, make them a little more pro-United States. We can't be completely dependent on Chinese goods. And I mean, maybe I'm just saying this as a patriot, but Chinese goods just aren't as good as American-made goods. The quality's not as good.
I believe it. I personally think it's been proven.
Now, I think we should try and find a way to renegotiate the deals that doesn't come at a disadvantage to either nation. It's not good trade if one nation has a clear advantage over the other. And I would say right now, China has an advantage over us.
And Alexander Hamilton, he was one of the architects of what we should do for our economy. And one of his recommendations was having high tariffs to protect American manufacturers.
Right.
So I just think this whole concept of tariffs, I think, has just been thrown out the window by the past couple of presidencies. And we're just becoming a more consumer-driven nation, not really a manufacturing nation, in that sense.
I mean, tariffs have ensured economic prosperity throughout our nation's history. It makes no sense to get rid of those when it ensures good paying jobs here in the United States and that our products stay here.
What are some other lovely countries we want to monitor?
What about the Syrian situation? Currently, Russia and Syria.
And what is
the
Aleppo?
United States. Right, and what is Aleppo? Yeah.
Oh, that's Syria is a complicated issue, really. I mean, we have our government army rebels that we're not even 100% sure if they're aligned with a terrorist organization or not, but we always find that more and more of our weapons we send over there fall into their hands. It's a real mess. You got three parties over there. You got the rebels, you got ISIS, you got the Syrian government.
The al-Nusra Front.
I mean,
It's like there's a new rebel group every day.
seriously, it's like one dies and then a bigger one takes its place, I guess. I personally would think that we should let Russia and Syria try to figure this out themselves, kind of, because I don't think it's within our best interest to just say, oh, we need to overthrow the Assad regime, which is what Obama and Hillary will be advocating for. What it will do is basically destabilize the region even more. I mean, you have a bunch of countries next to each other, Syria, Iraq. You know, part of Iraq is already destabilized. It's like the government has no control over it. Then half of Syria is basically under the claim of ISIS as well. It's just expanding their power, I personally think. And once Assad's gone, Russia has no reason to stay, really.
Now, see, I would support American action in Syria with the sole purpose to go after ISIS and perhaps the al-Nusra Front, the Al-Qaeda affiliate there. I don't believe it would be wise to get involved in Syria's very volatile political situation. I don't think that would give any benefit to us or our allies. I think that would be something best that the Syrian government, maybe the Iraqi government, I think regional powers should figure that out and let us handle the threat to us and our allies.
I mean, when you look at it, it always comes down to two things. You're either going to have the dictatorship that is a secular government, or you're going to have an extreme Islamic government that is going to be cracking down on basically every religious minority group. All right, welcome back to River Talk. We had a short break there. Before the break, we were talking about foreign policy and what our country should be doing in order to better our standing in the world, and now we're going to do a little recap over what's been going on in U.S. politics in the last couple of weeks.
Well, one thing is you have the recording of Trump back from 2005, and he's talking about women, and that's a big thing that's kind of blown up lately. Justifiably so, though.
Now, unfortunately for our audience, we do not have the recording, if you're wondering. You can do that on your own time.
You say that unfortunately. I think it's good we don't have that.
Oh, I wish we did.
Oh, it'd be better if no one had
I
it.
wish we did.
It'd be better if no one had it.
Simmer
Because,
down, guys. It'll be
straight up, when you read what he said, there are parts of it you can blow off as joking. People joke. People make sexual jokes. But saying, grab that pussy, that is not a sexual joke. That's sexual assault, and that's not an acceptable thing to say. And then, instead of apologizing, his apology is to try to talk about Hillary Clinton's husband and all his everything. But that's the thing you expect from an elementary schooler, to kind of shift the blame. You said this. Man up, take the responsibility. This is what you said. That is sexual assault, blatant and easily.
And just for those of you watching, if you're wondering, Trump did issue an apology statement, but during the debate, as well as he made a video the night the recordings were released, but a lot of people do not feel that it was very sincere, that he may have actually done these things, and that's what a lot of people have been iffy about recently after the recordings were released. Then we also have another WikiLeaks that was released a couple days ago. I think it was talking about, was their campaign chairman has like a deep fascination with aliens or something like that.
No.
I didn't read too much in depth of it, but I mean, I guess he believes in aliens, guys, I guess.
Well, I mean, let's just say we don't have aliens, realistically. If we're the only intelligent life out there, then we might have an issue.
I think the more important things that came out in the WikiLeaks dump that we saw this week was the Clinton campaign's deep collusion with the media in what appears to be an orchestrated attempt to bring down the Trump campaign, which so far doesn't look like it's working.
And here's the thing, from what I read was that they gave her a list of candidates that they think would probably be the easiest to bring up and then tear down by the media. So during the primaries, I believe they advocated for bringing up Donald Trump and making him look like kind of the unstoppable insurgent from the Republican Party. And then when it came to actually the general election, they were going to use every shred of their being to absolutely rip his campaign apart so that he would not win.
You have to admit it's smart to do. Take a person that you know is going to, say these things that a lot of people think are ridiculous.
I feel like, though, that should be illegal, honestly. I mean, the whole point of having media organizations is to give objective reporting,
But can you really expect, like, I don't know, when you look at the media, you can't really expect it to be objective. That's why you need to look at multiple sources, because none of them are truly going to be objective. There's always going to be the human factor. It will never truly be objective.
It's hard to be objective when your news organization is one of the largest donors to
The Clinton
Hillary
campaign.
Clinton. I mean, I don't know, it's just extremely, in the climate that Trump's he's trying to win an uphill battle extremely right now, and the media always finds something small from like 10, 15 years ago. To some people, it might be small, to some things it might be major, but they use that to like, talk about for an entire week, and then they completely ignore all the scandals that are coming out through WikiLeaks, and then their argument for that, well, oh, it's from Russia, it's not reliable, they can modify it, blah, blah, blah.
Especially considering Trump's comments really, at least in my humble opinion, as a staunch Trump supporter, I don't think that would affect his judgment or his ideas as leader of the United States.
As a woman, I think that those are one of the worst things you can be caught saying. Because I think that does affect judgment. That affects how he views women.
No,
And I think that's not, I could say, this is stating what he thinks of them. If you're saying you can do that, that's saying a lot about your view on women. And that's half your population.
And to a lot of people, those comments really make him look like he's objectifying women instead of not really making them look like people with, using his position as a star that he said to get touchy-feely, basically.
Yeah.
Sold?
Now to counter that, I mean, obviously his comments were pretty disgusting. And I'm saying that as a very ardent Trump supporter. I mean, even I was offended. But at the end of the day, it was 10 years ago, it was in private, and look, guys tend to talk like that in private. It does get pretty gross sometimes. But ultimately, I do not think that tape has much to do with how how we should see his potential performance as leader of the United States. And as long as we want to talk about tapes from a long time ago, there is actually a tape of Hillary Clinton laughing about allowing a rapist to get away with his crime, and her laughing about how she let him get away with it, even though she clearly thinks that he committed said crime. And the media doesn't cover that whatsoever. I think that is a serious lapse in judgment.
Well, we talked about the media is biased. Regardless of who you do or don't like, the media is going to have their opinion in it. It's almost impossible to find something that isn't biased. Pretty much everything anymore should be editorial because it's just people's opinions on it. It's not really the news anymore.
How does Fox News feel about Trump? We know how they lean.
Well, I watch Fox News pretty regularly. It's going to be what I watch when I get home. But it seems like some of the anchors are pretty big supporters. Most of the anchors, I should say. I say the pundits are pretty big supporters of him. But anchors like Shepard Smith and folks like him are not big on it whatsoever. Shepard Smith actually called him a fascist the other day.
And CNN, that is one of the major, well, there's a lot of news networks that are seen as being pro-Hillary, and so a lot of people like to make a joke with CNN as the Clinton News Network.
There's just a lot going on. I don't know, this is going to be interesting. It's interesting to watch now, but
it's just
closer.
It's just really interesting because as we were talking before we started this, how dramatically different the race was, 2 weeks ago compared to now. I mean, I was actually looking at Real Clear Politics this morning, and they were showing the polling and what states are in whose corner right now, which way they lean. And right now, Clinton is sitting at 260. I think Trump was sitting at 190. And the only state that she really needs to win at this point is in Minnesota, and she's 5 points ahead there right now. So I mean, I just feel like, as bad as it is, I just feel like Hillary's going to be our next president.
Yeah, I believe, and like I said, huge Trump supporter. I think the dream is dead. In fact, I used to wear my Make America Great Again hat everywhere I went. I'm pretty ashamed to wear it now. And I mean, I got behind him because of his ideas. I wanted to get rid of NAFTA. I want to stay out of other countries' business. I want to be able to keep my guns. But I'm not sure we'll find a candidate for a long time that'll represent all those ideas put together.
And I think this will be the first time in a while, actually, that, because usually when there's an 8-year presidency, then the next candidate is usually from the other party.
Mhm.
And here we're gonna be having basically a 3-term Democratic leadership and as the presidency. I think that hasn't happened in a long while, which I think is pretty interesting.
I'm hoping that given Hillary's unpopularity, she'll be a one-term president, though.
I feel like she will be a 1-term president with all the scandals that she has under her belt.
Yeah.
And so with that right there, guys, one of the most volatile elections the U.S. has seen in a long time. We'll see you next time. Thanks for watching.